It's a really specific smell. Let's go ahead and smell it.
Okay. I will not try.
Fair.
In your opinion, what percentage of wines out there in the market are faulty?
Oh dear. Okay.
Really provocative question right at the start. I guess I am one of those 30% of the population that cannot detect it.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah.
Shall we put it to the test?
If wine faults can actually be so easily controlled, you said SO2, better hygiene, why they still persist in so many wines today?
Making a decision that prevents one fault from forming can make it more likely that the other fault forms.
Hi everybody, welcome to No Sediment Wine Podcast. I would like to start by thanking 67 Pall Mall for not only supporting wine communicators and wine community altogether, but also for providing us with these beautiful premises for filming this podcast today here in London. And my guest today is wine educator, Sietze Wijma.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Yes, I'm very well. Yourself?
I'm really good. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Great.
I think this will be a very exciting and interesting topic we're going to tackle today. But before we start, could you maybe please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us how your wine journey started?
Yes, of course. Yeah. So I founded the Art of Tasting a few years ago, and I thought that the method of presenting wines with added compounds would be a really valuable extra tool for wine professionals and consumers to have. So I use this training method and I teach people in identifying flavors and identifying wine faults.
Yes.
So both of these things. And in terms of where I started working in a wine shop actually when I was still studying. So that was my part-time job, and that's how I got started in the wine industry.
All right. So we will mainly focus today on wine faults.
Mm-hmm.
And in your opinion, what percentage of wines out there in the market are faulty?
Oh dear. Okay.
Really provocative question right at the start.
That's I'm gonna carefully say 1%. I think
Really?
that's probably a fair estimate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Including TCA.
Yes. Maybe I'll take up to 2%.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
So how would you define then a wine fault? Where is the line between fault, flaw, and maybe a stylistic choice?
Ooh, okay. I don't really use the distinguishment between faults and flaws too many times. I do often use the difference between an off flavor and a taint. I think that is a bit more useful. It can be a bit more precisely defined. So an off flavor is going to be a fault that is derived from the production process. So it is actually a normal component of wine, but becomes a problem at high levels. And a taint, that is something external from wine, okay? So it's a contaminant. It comes from somewhere, like it does not belong in wine. And cork taint is the famous example, but also something like smoke taint, for example, where smoke is coming from outside, like the environment, if you like. And oftentimes taints are a bit more serious than off flavors. So in terms of consequences, like you'd have to do a product recall, or you'd have to send the bottle back. And flaw and fault, yeah, I notice that a lot of people use these terms, but it's a bit more difficult to exactly define what it is. But maybe you could say like the line where you would return the bottle, for example, to the servant or to the shop. That could be where it becomes a fault,
Okay.
no longer a flaw.
But that is really interesting, because when I do sometimes lectures or speak with people, like everyday people who enjoy wine, they always say, oh, I cannot recognize that fault. Like I would think that this wine is good. So do you think that wine professionals sometimes know better or pay more attention to wine faults than the regular wine faults?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very much you're in that state of like being almost like alert to wine faults, right?
Yes.
It's like that day when you have bought new shoes, you suddenly notice other people's shoes as well. You start like paying attention to them. It's a bit like that with wine faults as well. So as soon as you become aware of them and you understand them well, then you become a bit of a police officer and you start identifying it everywhere. And also besides wine, so for example, TCA, I sometimes notice in garlic or in bananas or like
Really?
other products when they have problems.
How do they end up there? How the TCA molecule end up in banana? But because that's completely new to me.
Yes, I'm more comfortable with explaining it in wine than in banana. So of course I've specialized in wine, not necessarily banana. I think it might have something to do with pesticides. Okay. So there's always three components to TCA. So the first one is mold. You'll have some mold growth, and they thrive in damp conditions, right? And then the second one is some kind of phenolic component, which is usually plant derived. And then the third one is chlorine, and chlorine can come from various sources such as bleach, but also from herbicides or pesticides, for example. So in the case of bananas, oftentimes they're like wrapped in this plastic, right? Which kind of traps moisture. So it creates a very good environment for mold growth. And then the phenolics, I guess, are coming from the skins of the banana, something like that. And then you're gonna have that chlorine component maybe from using fungicides or related products.
So you actually went really deep into that. So you understand the TCA quite well then.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. Okay. So is there certain wine faults that if they are detectable, they are faulty right away? The wine is faulty right away. And is there some faults that if you kind of reach certain level, then you consider them faulty?
Yes. Cork taint's not acceptable in any style at any level. So that could be a good example. And then let's bring another one to the table, which is acetaldehyde. Okay. And this is a compound that actually, why don't we start with tasting as well? Okay. Then I can give a small demonstration of.
Can I just say that last time I met you at the Decanter World Wine Awards, and you did this masterclass, I completely failed.
Oh dear!
Yeah. When I mixed the glasses, I was like all over the place.
Oh, with the blind test. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I think I maybe detected TCA and in Brett, and that was it.
Okay, yeah. So this is an interesting component that you will find in all wines, and it is formed during fermentation. So
Acetaldehyde.
Acetaldehyde, yes.
Acetaldehyde.
Yeah. A bit of a tongue twister. Yeah. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Nice little drop of acetaldehyde. So what I've done here, your glass your glass number one, that is the wine as it should be, right? It's this kind of unexciting Blossom Hill that I picked as a victim, I guess, for spiking some samples. And then the number two is where I made the addition. And it kind of smells like bruised apple. And there's also an element of paint almost to it. This is a component that is formed by yeast, and it is an intermediate product in the conversion from sugar to alcohol. So like in very simple terms, yeast turns sugar into acetaldehyde and then turns the acetaldehyde into alcohol. And with any wine, there's always going to be some leftover acetaldehyde, right? That what yeast hasn't turned or neatly cleaned up and converted into alcohol. And in most styles, it's not going to be an issue, and it can contribute like in low levels to like normal wine flavors like apples. And even in this wine, I wouldn't think that it's like highly problematic.
Yes, I would not notice it as faulty.
Okay, yeah, fair, yeah.
Maybe
and actually,
not as fruity, but
yeah. And we can even increase the doses, and that might like put it over the border, and make it faulty indeed.
Right.
Yeah, it becomes like this sort of paint-like smell, and it's quite unpleasant.
Yeah.
So you get this at high levels when fermentation was interrupted, for example, which can be accidental. So if you're looking at a stuck fermentation, it will always be high in acetaldehyde. But also when wine becomes oxidized, it will get high levels of acetaldehyde.
This is what I wanted to ask you. I thought that acetaldehyde is an oxidized alcohol.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
But you said yeast before creates sugar. Yeast converts sugar into acetaldehyde, and then acetaldehyde into alcohol.
Yeah, so there's really like two routes to acetaldehyde, right? There's two origins. Excuse me. So that of oxygen exposure, which can happen during any time, can happen during winemaking, but also post winemaking, and then can be a fermentation.
Okay, so there are two ways to get there.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then there's also some styles that actually rely on acetaldehyde, and a good example of that is Pinot Sherry. So it will always have high levels of this particular compound.
And I love it.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah, and of course you wouldn't consider that a fault at all. So you also have to consider the style and then make a judgment on whether a flavor is a fault or not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what are the most common wine faults?
So looking at data that we get from competitions, cork taint remains a problem, like 1% of, and it is kind of tied with excessive sulfur compounds.
Okay.
And that can have a range of reasons. And reduction is a famous one. So reduction is a problem where yeast is struggling during fermentation, mostly due to a lack of nutrients, and it becomes worse when there's also a lack of oxygen. So that results in excessive sulfur compounds. They smell like boiled eggs, rotten eggs, camembert, drains, rubbish bin, so definitely unpleasant. And the same set of compounds can also be released when wine is exposed to light. So
light strike.
Exactly, yeah, light strike. Yeah, either artificial light or daylight. So in like that it can be kind of tricky to tell whether a wine had like reductive issues or light strike issues. So they're kind of similar in terms of what they smell like. And so collectively, they also are responsible for around 1% of wines that are showing those issues.
Okay, so those two would be the most common.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah.
Is there something else that pops up?
Oxidation is quite high as well. And we're not really seeing that many bread incidences these days. So that used to be much higher in the past.
Okay.
And I think in general, you can see a trend where instances are getting lower. And
All right.
cork taint is another good example. So if you'd be looking at data from the 90s, for example, it could be as high as 8%. So like ridiculously high levels of cork taint. Also because at the time, corks used to be bleached with a chlorine-containing bleach. That no longer happens, but that was also causing a lot of TCA issues. Yeah, it's a really good. It's really promising that people are understanding faults better, and wine quality rises as a result. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, faults are getting less common.
Something that I also wanted to ask you. So I know that TCA is harmless to us, but are all of these wine faults harmless, or there are some that could actually be like health dangerous, health hazard?
That will be very rare. Like the more common wine faults, and definitely the ones that we'll be trying today, they're all safe.
Okay.
Like affected wines are safe to consume. The reason being that pathogens, so like the actual microbes that make you sick, they are not able to grow in wine. And you kind of intuitively know that. And there's that sort of story where back in the Middle Ages, it was safer to drink beer than it was to drink water. Because like a 2% alcohol seems to be more or less the threshold, like above it, most dangerous bacteria or yeast that are not able to grow. So
okay.
So it's safe.
So even if we cannot as a regular wine folk, detect certain wine faults. Even if we drank that bottle or half bottle, we're good to go. All right, so we shouldn't be too worried.
Yeah,
that's really
precisely. Yeah.
Okay, so which wine faults are most preventable in the vineyard, and which are more a winery issue?
Okay, so vineyard-related issues could be grape rot. It could be smoke taint, for example, and another niche one, which is called Ladybug taint.
I really like that one.
Okay.
People usually love it.
What do you mean? Like in terms of what it smells like?
How it smells, but in terms of how it has happened, like how it got into the wine.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating process. Yeah, so just to recap for the viewers, this is when ladybug beetles are in between the bunches of grapes while they're ripening, and then if you harvest them along the fruit and they end up in the grape crush, they give this taint to wine. So it kind of smells like potato skins, asparagus, peanuts, like especially the shells of the peanut, the peanut shells. It's a really specific smell. Let's go ahead and smell it.
Okay. I remember you had a lot of questions the last masterclass about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just have to remember that our wines are kind of mirrored. So.
Yeah.
The number 3. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. There you go.
Ladybug.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I immediately detect this one.
Yeah. And it's not even that unpleasant as a smell, in my opinion, but it's just in wine, it is really weird.
Yeah.
It does not belong in wine.
Exactly. This is what you feel.
It's like, oh, that's like what compost can smell like as well, for example. Yeah, really earthy. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you said like peanut or asparagus, I thought, oh, really nice smells. But exactly, once it's in the wine, you do not want it. You feel like it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It comes through on the palate, so.
I will not try.
Fair.
Okay, and which ones are more at the winery issue?
So those could be things like Brettanomyces, oxidation, volatile acidity, Mousiness.
Mousiness.
Yeah, another one that gets talked about recently a lot. Yeah.
Yes, I would love to talk about it because I guess I am one of those 30% of the population that cannot detect it.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah.
But shall we put it to the test?
Yeah, maybe something has changed. But is it on the palate? Is it the taint or the taint that you can only detect on the palate? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So I will pour wine 1. Yeah, no, wine 2. I should pour out.
Yeah, you can do 2 and 3 actually.
Okay.
Just to make some more space. Yes, and different glasses, but that's fine. Yes, there we go. So maybe just give that a swirl so that it's mixed in.
And what should I be looking for? So I will not detect the smell. No, it feels.
Maybe because I only just added it, you might still be able to pick it up, but it soon disappears. And it's a unique compound that is responding to acidity. Mm-hmm. And if a wine is always has at least some acidity, which makes this compound non-volatile. So that means that by smell, the wine seems fine. But when you put the wine in your mouth and you spit or you swallow, it appears, it kind of sneaks up on you. And
I do feel something. It's but something unpleasant, like bitter or like cardboardy or something rotten. I don't know. I cannot explain it. But I thought I cannot pick it up. But
so the reason it's called Mousiness is because it kind of reminds you of mouse urine, right?
Okay.
So if you have an issue with mice in your basement, for example, this is a smell that you can get. But also, if people have a mouse as a pet, for example, and they keep it in a cage, it's kind of the bedding of the mouse cage that starts to smell like this. It's the sort of grains and flakes that are on the bottom of the cage, and can really have this smell. So that's one descriptor. A different one is that of basmati rice, or it has this sort of rice flavor to it. And it's a bit grainy as well, like almost like stale popcorn. Stale peanuts is what I hear as well. So yeah, to come back to your point on the 30% that cannot pick it up, that is probably a bit of an overestimate.
Okay.
There's a recent master of wine paper actually written by Tone. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Anyway, she's done a lot of testing with this particular compound, and probably more conservative estimates, maybe like between 5 and 10%. That's
really?
It's more realistic. The high percentage is mostly due to people that are unfamiliar with the fold. So they don't know what it smells or tastes like. They don't know the proper technique to pick it up. And because you do really need to taste it. And what happens in your mouth is, especially after spitting, your mouth is going to restore the acidity. So that means like initially the wine is highly acidic. Your saliva is the opposite. So it's alkaline or base. And after spitting, the acidity restores, goes back to sort of a more normal level. If you express it in pH, we're around 7. And then the aroma compound becomes volatile. And then it can be picked up, what we call retronasally. So it's like this connection between the mouth and the nose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the second sip I took, I thought I didn't pick it up anymore. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. It can be tricky, but it should be fairly noticeable in this particular glass. Yeah.
We will try.
Kind of bad. I can still taste it.
I will try it again.
And the so another trick which is kind of interesting is actually dipping your fingers in the wine and then rubbing it on your skin like this. That's something worth trying. That is another way to bring up the acidity, or bring up the pH. So negating the acidity of the wine. So let's start with the reference glass. Mm-hmm. And so you're gonna dip your finger in there and then rub the wine on the back of your skin like this. You're rubbing it, and then you're gonna smell that. Kind of smells like wine, I guess. Nothing too much of notes. And then we're moving on to glass number 2, and then maybe use a different finger and also dip. So that's the mousy wine.
No,
and then you're gonna rub.
Out.
Oh, okay.
I have my water in the mouth.
Oh, right. Okay. But then I'll just do the demonstration here,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna rub it on your skin again, and then smell it, and that will also make the mouse aroma volatile. So that now you can also pick up the popcorn. Let's prepare you a new one, because I'm really wondering if it works for you, because you do seem to get it in water, so you're not exactly blind to the aroma compound. Maybe it's more that
less sensitive.
Your saliva doesn't produce maybe enough to correct. I'm not sure what's going on there, but let's see. Okay, so just give a swirl to mix it in.
And now should I rub it on my skin?
Yep. So you're gonna pick up some wine and you rub it like this. Yeah. And I smell it.
Yeah, it smells unpleasant.
Okay. Anything vaguely resembling popcorn? I think popcorn is this.
Maybe a little bit.
That works for you.
Yeah.
So that's another way. And you could, like at home, you could even put in some baking soda, for example, to bring up so there's various ways to bring up the pH and make it volatile. In terms of where it is coming from, so it's
yes, exactly.
A product which can be produced by lactic acid bacteria and by Brettanomyces.
Okay.
and most of the times it's probably more often the lactic acid bacteria that are responsible. And as we know, they play an important role in wine in the malolactic fermentation. But if the lactic bacteria, if these bacteria are growing a bit out of control, they can produce other compounds besides lactic acid. And oxygen has been known to play a role. So it could be that, for example, if you're doing an ambient malolactic fermentation without the addition of cultures, so relying on many different bacterial strains that are present in your winery, maybe plus some oxygen, then that could be a bit of a recipe for Mousiness. Right. It's been linked with low sulfur dioxide use as well.
So efficient SO2 additions could reduce that?
Yes, precisely, yeah. Which is useful for preventing faults in general. So it also works for preventing Brettanomyces, for example.
Oh, really? I thought it was quite sturdy against it.
We have found some Brettanomyces strains that have some tolerance towards SO2, but it's so sulfur dioxide, but it's still very effective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So SO2 is not our enemy.
No, it's maybe not. It doesn't have the best name, and people, sometimes seek out wines with low sulfur dioxide use.
Yeah.
But it's super important for preventing microbial spoilage as well as preventing oxidation. Yeah. Those are the two main things that it does.
So I wanted to ask you, this is something that I want to ask someone who knows faults for the longest time.
Okay.
And it talks about TCA, so trichloroanisole, yes?
Okay, yes.
So we as human beings are very sensitive towards it.
Yeah.
So at very low levels, we will detect it. Yet it is not poisonous to us. It is harmless. So how come that during the evolution we have developed this really high sensitivity?
Oh wow!
And yet it is not harmful.
Yeah, you want to talk about evolution? Interesting. I think we can probably dedicate a full podcast to that.
Okay.
But the compound itself is harmless, but maybe the organisms that produce it, maybe they aren't.
Okay.
Because it's produced by molds. So it can be a sign of spoiled stuff. Now, in the case of wine, mold doesn't grow in wine, right? Molds cannot tolerate alcohol. So TCA is always coming from the outside world and usually via a cork. So yes, TCA tainted wine is not unsafe to drink because there's no mold growth, but it could well be that in other products there could be a health concern there.
All right.
So it's not the compound that's the issue, but it's the molds that can.
Okay. So this is why we're so sensitive towards it.
It is tempting to think that.
Okay.
And it's also very difficult to prove.
Okay.
So indeed, you might think like high sensitivities mean maybe we've evolved to smell that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it could well be. I'm also a believer of that, but there's also some observations that let's take the gas carbon monoxide as an example. This is a really poisonous gas, right? So it's extremely dangerous, yet it's odorless to us. So if we've evolved to detect harmful things, then why don't we have a smell receptor for carbon monoxide? That could be yes, there are numerous examples of where we are very sensitive to potentially harmful stuff, but sometimes there's also examples like this where we're not sensitive, where it might have been helpful if we were.
And one myth, maybe you can prove or debunk it. So can we really remove TCA in wine by placing it in a plastic bag?
So it has to be a specific type of plastic, right? A specific polymer.
There is an option.
There is an option.
Okay.
Yes. Most plastic bags are not made with that specific PVPP.
Okay.
So yeah, you have to be very specific, and it's kind of replacing one problem with another, because you will introduce some plastic smells in your wine. Okay. There are some commercial applications of it as well, so like a more sort of purified form of that particular plastic polymer, which has been applied successfully, and you can remove TCA with it, but it will also strip some other positive aromas from wine.
All right. So we should not do that then.
No, it's better.
Just put the cork in, bring the bottle back to the retailer and exchange it.
Yes, precisely. Right. Yeah. Or maybe test some friends if they're blind to TCA, and then if you have a blind friend, you can serve them the tainted wine.
Yeah. So you have mentioned several times the Brettanomyces. So could we talk about it more specifically, how it ends up in the wine? I think it is, because I want to develop this into something more. It's just, for me, it is really interesting. Smell or taint, I'm not sure how you would define it, because it divides people.
Yes, yeah, precisely. And we're going to do an addition to this wine.
Mm-hmm. By the end of the podcast, we will have finished all the bottle.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, I already put some.
So that will be mousy and ready.
Joyful. And Brett is the shorter form of Brettanomyces. It's very weird as well in this white wine. Brett is a bit less common in white wine as well, as I will get to in a bit. And it's called a wild yeast, and it has that name because it is never added to wine, but usually it's seen as an intruder, if you like. Okay. I think if you want to understand Brett, you also have to understand the normal wine yeast. And that also has a scientific name. It's called Saccharomyces or Saccharomyces cerevisiae, but let's just call it yeast. Okay. I guess now a conventional yeast, which is often added to wine. And it behaves quite predictably and is very fast, and also has a sort of defined set of flavors that it can produce. And Brett can produce some flavors that conventional yeast cannot. And this is an example of those. So I've made an addition of a compound called 4-ethylphenol, which is also called 4-EP. And it smells like Band-Aid. Yeah. And another descriptor for it is blue cheese. You wouldn't think that Band-Aid and blue cheese have something in common, but they do, and it's this compound. There's also a barnyardy smell to it, so like an animal smell. There's multiple things that you could potentially describe it as.
I think once also said vomit. No.
Yeah. Yeah, precisely. Yeah. It's a very unique smell, and it can also be difficult to really put words to it. So I guess it's just one of those smells you have to smell, and then it sticks with you. And Brettanomyces is, in terms of how it behaves or functions, it's a lot slower than conventional yeast. So in most cases, Brettanomyces is outcompeted by conventional yeast, and it won't contribute its signature flavors. But instances where it could contribute are, for example, an ambient fermentation. So these can take a bit longer than when you're adding your yeast. And then Brettanomyces can join in and contribute some flavors. Yeah. Barrel aging is also one of those processes where there's a bit of a Brett risk. Brett really likes to hide in oak, and it's able to metabolize some components of oak that Saccharomyces cannot. If you want to know the details, it's a component called cellobiose. So this is something that can function as an energy source for Brett. Which makes, it can basically live on and on in a wooden barrel. And as soon as you fill the cask with wine, then Brettanomyces can potentially contribute its flavors. And that is one of the reasons as well that you see it a bit more often in red wines compared with whites. Reds are more frequently oak aged than our whites.
Okay.
And we've also talked about sulfur dioxide, which is important for preventing bread. And it's more effective at a higher acidity. Now, white wines typically have higher acidity than red wines.
Yeah.
So white wines are a bit better protected against bread due to that. So those are some of the main reasons.
Okay. So why do you think people are so divided? Because in the competitions, well, I don't think in competitions anymore, but like in the regular settings, there will be people who just absolutely love these old style Chateauneuf du Pape, Brunellos, Barolos, and they'll just go crazy about these wines. And then there will be some people who will say, like, I'm not drinking this because it smells of bread. And it just like one love it and the other hate it. Why is that?
There's multiple reasons. Let's try to summarize it. So bread can produce more than one compound, okay? So this is the main one that we've been smelling, the bandlate one. It can produce two additional ones. One is called isovaleric acid, which smells like sweaty socks or vomit. And we would have tried that in the Decanter World Wine Awards session. And then there's also one which is called 4EG or 4-ethyl glycol, which smells of leather. It smells of prune. It smells of figs, tobacco. Yeah, it's not bad, indeed. So in the instances where that is the dominant flavor, bread can be a lot more positive. So that's one thing. And then the other is obviously personal preference. Like I present this glass to my audience, so people that participate in my training sessions. And I would often ask, who likes this smell and who dislikes this smell? And then most people would raise their hands in favor of like, I dislike this. But there's also some people that would be like, you know what, I get on with this smell. Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. And then there's the sensitivity element as well. So some people would struggle to pick this up. Others are very sensitive, and we see that for the other compounds as well. And if you're, for example, highly sensitive to the sweaty socks one, and you're not so sensitive to the leather one, then maybe that could be bad in terms of how you're enjoying bread wine.
So have you ever tasted a bready wine that you still loved very, very much?
Yes, and I tolerate bread reasonably well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm the most sensitive. I like in real wines, I usually get it on the palate, and then other people would try the same wine and they would smell it and already get it by the smell. I'm quite tolerant to that flavor, and especially if it's in the right context. So maybe like a full-bodied wine, I think it can work with some natural wines as well. I don't mind it too much. I have much more issues with the nail varnish remover smell, for example. That one I cannot stand.
This is my next question, actually, because this is something that I also feel very sensitive to. So that's volatile acidity, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So where does that come from in the wine?
Okay, so we have to talk about yet another microbe, and it's called and they're called acetic acid bacteria. So that's a type of bacteria that produce their namesake, acetic acid. And it's also those that are responsible for the commercial production of vinegar, right? So it's basically wine turning into vinegar. And those bacteria operate a bit differently from yeasts and from lactic acid bacteria. And the unique thing about yeast, so both bread, Saccharomyces, lactic acid bacteria, they can operate without oxygen. Which is a neat little thing they're capable of. Of course, most microbes, acetic acid bacteria, they require oxygen to grow, so they don't have that feature of growing in oxygen-free environments. So that tells us whenever your wine smells of vinegar, it is both a hygiene issue because there's bacterial growth and there's an oxidation issue. So there's like two things that must be present, which can happen in a wide range of scenarios. So it can happen as early as in the vineyard. If you have damaged grapes, you can get development of volatile acidity. So maybe when there's a hailstorm, for example, or there's birds or certain insects that would damage your grapes, you will get higher levels of VA. Yeah, CA is the abbreviation of volatile acidity. But also it can happen during fermentation. It can happen during barrel aging, especially when it's extended barrel aging and some wine is evaporating from the cask. So that will result in some headspace within the cask, so some oxygen access there for those bacteria, and then you'll get higher levels of volatile acidity. So there's two components of that. The first one is acetic acid, which smells of vinegar or cider, and then there's ethyl acetate, which smells of nail varnish remover or glue. So, it's often those two that are present at the same time.
Do you think VA has increased or decreased in last years? Wine?
Decreased.
Decreased. Okay.
Yeah, we have wineries generally have better equipment. They have better hygiene procedures. They're more protective, so they have lots of ways that they can prevent oxidation from happening. So we don't see it that often.
That often anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also sort of a progressive stage of oxidation, right? So like, yes, there are still plenty of wines out there that can show oxidation, but like volatile acidity is like worse.
So why do certain winemaking regions tolerate more volatile acidity in their wines than others?
It's more of a historic thing.
Or we tolerate more as a wine consumer?
It's more of a historic or traditional thing. Some wine regions maybe think Rioja or Barolo, for example. It will be extended barrel aging, and maybe people wouldn't like traditionally top up their barrels, which is more common these days. And you don't see it with every producer, but there will be some producers that will have some volatile acidity.
Okay. Yeah. So, and if I have wine with some volatile acidity in it, should I just open it and put it on the radiator, and will I have some nice vinegar afterwards? Is this how it works or no? It's just if you have VA, just dunk the bottle and...
I don't know how long it takes actually for it to turn into proper vinegar. Don't know. Yeah, but I like that idea.
If wine faults can actually be so easily controlled, you said SO2, better hygiene, why they still persist in so many wines today?
I will take that back, that it's easy.
Okay. Well, it was me. You did not say it. I mean, maybe I should rephrase the question. If we know how to control them and avoid them, why there are still so many? Why they still persist, I guess.
Making a decision that prevents one fault from forming can make it more likely that the other fault forms, if that makes sense. So, for example, if you want to prevent reduction, it's a good idea to add yeast nutrients during fermentation. They most commonly need nitrogen, so there's various forms that you can add nitrogen during fermentation. But if you overdo it, then you have a higher risk of, for example, bread to join the party, because it likes to have a bit extra nutrients, and then so too little, and you'll get problems like reduction, like the drains, camembert, boiled egg smell, and also high chance of acetaldehyde, by the way, so the bruised apple smell. But then if you add too many, then you can get the Brettanomyces smells.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's not easy. And then the sulfur dioxide thing. There's certain benefits of not using too much sulfur dioxide. And yeah, people like to gamble and maybe not add so much and then try to get away with it.
Yeah. Well, I actually don't mind wine with lower SO2 levels, but I think that everything else needs to be top controlled. Like, as you said, like all the barrels or whatever tanks you're using should be top, temperature controlled. You should really then take care of your wine. This is how you ensure that your wine will be top quality. If you just I will not use any SO2 and I will just do whatever, then I think it could ruin the wine quite easily.
Yeah, true.
This is my view on this. Okay, so we are almost at the end, and one question that I usually ask every one of my guests, what is the one wine myth you would like to debunk?
Oh, that's an interesting one. The myth that wine tasting is a talent, so that you're like born with a highly sensitive nose. And that, in my opinion, is not the case. Wine tasting is very much a learned skill that you can practice and you can hone your skills, and you don't need any sort of gifts, specific gifts. And so when I give my training sessions, I always end with a blind tasting test, right? Which you've also done. So where you don't know which fault is in which position. You have to go through the 10 glasses and like number 1 bread, number 2 volatile acidity, etc. And I do notice that some people are naturally a bit better at that. So also when people have never even attended a wine tasting, sometimes they would name 10 out of 10 right after I've explained what each of them smell like. So they don't struggle with it too much. And there's some people that struggle with it a lot. So there's a little bit of, I guess you could say, genetics, but the more important thing is that you can get a lot better at it. So the first time I did it, I had like 3 out of 10 correct, and now I get 10 out of 10 most of the times. And it's something that you can just work on. And it's a bit like, I guess like running. Like every person can get better at running if they just put in the training and put in the exercise. And maybe you don't become world class because you have to have a very specific build of your body. But like, it doesn't matter if you're really tall, if you're really short, if you're young or old, like as long as you go for a run, you'll be better the next time.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's good to know for everyone. I mean, if you feel like you want to enter the wine world, then you can train yourself and
precisely.
Get better.
And it can seem intimidating, and like it's maybe not as obvious how you can get better at it compared with something like sports. But it's about building a vocabulary, knowing which wine aromas exist and what to look out for.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, you also have no idea what is even possible to find. Like
that's
something like a green bell pepper is really common to find in wine, but I've yet to come across a wine that smells like aubergine, for example. So, there's just some terms that are really useful and some that are not at all.
Yeah.
That's what you have to figure out.
So now I have prepared this or that question. So like really quick questions before the last part. So aroma kits or real world smelling practice?
I mean, I have to say aroma kits, right? I have one with me, so yeah.
So sensory memory, which is more powerful, smell or taste?
Smell.
Okay. Bottle variation, frustrating or fascinating?
I love this. Fascinating.
Okay. Slight VA for a lift or VA is a deal breaker?
VA is a deal breaker for me.
Hey. Yeah. More misunderstood, Brett or reduction?
Reduction.
Tertiary aromas or secondary aromas?
In terms of what I prefer?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with secondary.
Secondary or primary?
Secondary.
Okay. If you could erase one wine fault forever, which would it be?
I don't want to, because then I can't give training sessions anymore.
Only one.
Yeah, let's go for the nail varnish remover smell.
Okay. Mine are fault forgiven or perfection only?
Forgiven.
Okay. Natural funk or clean precision?
Clean precision.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much. The next question is going to be a question from Pauline Ricard. So she's
Lovely.
co-founder of Areni Global. And this is what she asked. She asked, what excites you and puts a smile on your face in the morning when you're getting ready for your work for wine, like to work in the wine industry?
Oh, that's a lovely question. I think the wow moment of participants when they learn something new. Yeah.
Okay.
So especially when they find out that that they have some proof that everyone smells differently, so that they are like highly sensitive to one aroma, and then the person next to them is not at all sensitive, for example. Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
So you're how do you say people person?
I'll take it.
Yes. Okay, so the people excite you, those that you work with. Okay, that's so nice. So do you have a question for the next guest?
Yes. If you had to choose between drinking wine out of plastic cups for the rest of your life or having proper glassware, but it is always filled to the very top, which of the two would you choose?
Oh my God, that's so cool. Okay, thank you. This might be one of the coolest questions now.
Nice.
So we have a small gift to all of our guests. So this is No Sediment cap. I don't know if you wear them, but I guess, when the sun is shining and it's too hot, or when maybe you...
Lovely.
Yeah.
Or I will
Go
just put it next to my wine glasses, so I can do something like that as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming on our show. I just love it. And I think it will be very, very interesting and exciting. So just a quick question. So for those who got really excited and would like to participate in your master classes or would like to follow you on social media, where they should find you, how they should reach out to you?
So I have an Instagram channel called The Art of Tasting.
Okay.
And I also have a website, artoftasting.nl. My full course schedule is on there. My online store is there.
Okay.
I also communicate my classes through my Instagram channel.
Yeah, because I encourage everyone to try. It was just so exciting. I failed miserably, but still, I mean, if I would like to do it again and maybe see how I do. Maybe I can train my wine faults better.
Yeah, there's room for improvements.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, of course. Yeah.